So it looks like we're getting a new Marvel Legends Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends 3-pack, but is this one accurate to the TV show, and is it worth your money? Be sure you stick around until the end, soulmates, because we're going to talk about what characters we would love to see made next from this TV show. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was a cartoon that aired alongside the original Spider-Man series back in 1981 through 1983. And the characters they chose for this one were somewhat unusual, that being Iceman alongside Firestar. And Firestar was an original creation for the show. Initially, it wasn't supposed to be Firestar, it was supposed to be the Human Torch. Despite that, Firestar became very popular and wound up becoming a mainstay in Marvel Comics. As far as toys go, we really didn't see much in the way of toys back in the early 80s because Marvel wasn't such a hot toy property at the time. We've seen plenty of Spider-Man and Iceman action figures over the years, but as far as a Firestar action figure went, it didn't really happen until very recently when Hasbro released a Firestar action figure. And this one was an okay release. This came on the women's body that was very common at the time before it was revised very recently, and it also came with a pretty decent number of accessories. She came with an extra head that depicted her other mask, because Firestar is known for wearing a couple of different masks between the cartoon and the comic book series that she originally debuted in. She also came with some extra hands and some flame effects, and also she came with her dog, all of which were very nice to have for a $20 package. If I were to say what my least favorite thing about this one was, I would say that the head that depicts her comic book style mask doesn't look that great to me. I think that the animated series or cartoon mask looks a lot better. And also I kind of wish there was a little bit of separation between the flame designs on her gloves and boots, but that aside, it's an okay release. And that leads us right into the new Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends 3-pack, which I think is an okay release, but also there's a lot of room for improvement. Starting out, let's take a look at Iceman in this package. Iceman, for some reason, uses the Pizza Spidey body, which struck me immediately as something that's very strange because I don't really think of Iceman as Pizza Spidey, because when you look at Iceman on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, he's a little bit more built than what we see here. Iceman is a fairly short character. He's typically not depicted as being all that tall, although Spider-Man really isn't all that tall either. So picking a body here that makes him taller than the Spider-Man that we're getting in this set seems like a very odd choice. Something I noticed immediately on this one is that the head doesn't really fit at all. It looks very awkward on this body, and it looks like they've just taken the head directly off of the retro card Iceman and placed it on this Pizza Spidey body. Fortunately, we do get a little bit more with Iceman than we did in the retro package. Iceman comes with a couple of extra hands. He also comes with that same ice base that we saw in the retro package. At first, I thought it seemed like a strange decision to include cel shading on this action figure but not the other two, but then I realized why they did that, because they did it on the TV show, and we didn't really see that kind of shading on Firestar or Spider-Man on that series. Believe it or not, soulmates, I think this is one of those rare action figures where I think the cel shading could have worked, but they didn't really go all the way with it. It's another one of those cel shading jobs that kind of just seems half-heartedly applied. One of the biggest problems holding back this Iceman action figure is that because they're using the Pizza Spidey body for him, he doesn't look all hard and jagged like Iceman should, so it doesn't look anything like an Iceman body. It looks entirely too soft. Another thing I noticed about this toy is that Iceman doesn't have green eyes, but he has green eyes on the cartoon, and also he smiles a lot on the cartoon. That's another thing that when you go back and look at it, you really notice it. Next up is Firestar, and Firestar is a little bit different from her first release. On this one, she has pinless arms and legs, although the torso is still the same, and I wish that they would do a little bit something with this torso. I feel like an ab crunch would not be asking too much on a lady action figure, but you know, here's hoping that sometime in the near future we can get that. One of the only other things that's different about this release is that the dog is a different color. Otherwise, everything's pretty much the same. And Firestar's costume is not 100% accurate to what we see on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. On Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, she doesn't really have the popped collar look that we're seeing here. She has an open collar at the top of her costume, but it kind of just goes up against her neck. I honestly don't mind this look on her. I think it looks kind of nice. Otherwise, everything does look about right on this one. Something that I wish we would have seen is another head sculpt that looks like a variation of something that we saw on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, rather than this head that we've already gotten that doesn't really have any bearing on the cartoon. Another thing I wish is that they would have sculpted on these flame elements on her gloves and boots, because I think that it would have added a little bit more separation between those elements and it would have looked really nice. But as they are, they're painted on, and when you do that sort of thing, you have to do it really clean, or else it winds up looking kind of cheap and tacky. And when we look up close at the action figure, we do see that things start to look a little messy. I don't know, it's just kind of disappointing that it's as rough looking as it is on Firestar, because on a character like this, it isn't like there's a ton of paint apps on her. She's mostly yellow, so I think they could have made that a little cleaner than they did. And of course, how could we forget about the last action figure of this 3-pack? This one's Spider-Man. He comes with 2 sets of extra hands, no other accessories though. And this one I noticed immediately is reusing the Amazing Fantasy body again, just like the animated series Spider-Man that was released as a Walmart exclusive. And this seems like a strange decision to me, because when we look at this Spider-Man, right next to Firestar and Iceman, he's shorter than both of them, and that seems so weird because Spider-Man, granted, is not a tall dude, but he's generally depicted as taller than Firestar, and well, he's also taller than Iceman, so it's weird. Another thing is that this isn't the best body to pick for a depiction of the Amazing Friends Spider-Man, because that Spider-Man is based more on the art of John Romita Sr, and his Spider-Man is a little bit more jacked. It's a very muscular looking Spider-Man for the time. Once again, I kind of wish, considering the animated show that it's based on, that they would have done a little black outline around the red elements of his costume, because just like the animated series Spider-Man, we are seeing some web designs that are spilling outside of that red area onto the blue parts. The more I look at this action figure, I realize that it's hard for me to get over the height thing, but also it's really hard for me to get over the mask, because I look at this action figure and I can't not see the Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man. I just keep seeing Steve Ditko's mask on this action figure, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look anything like the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends mask. And also the webs on that head's design are not clustered as tightly together as they are on this action figure. I thought that my mind might be playing tricks on me, so out of curiosity, I counted the lines that are going around Spider-Man's head on the action figure and the cartoon, and on the cartoon, I counted 11 lines in a circle around his head, but on the action figure I counted 13. So there's 2 more lines than there should be, and now I definitely know for sure that the lines are too tightly clustered together on this Spider-Man's mask. Also, something that we should mention here is that this is a Pulse exclusive, and at $75, that's standard price for each action figure, which is in itself pretty good. But then when you consider how much it costs to get this from Hasbro Pulse, it's decidedly less exciting. Really, the Pulse exclusive thing is a massive inconvenience, and I'm not going to get it just because of that. Never mind that the action figures inside the package aren't really all that appealing to me. Now, is it worth your money? I guess you just have to ask yourself, 1, how accurate do you want your Spider-Man and his amazing friends toys to be? And 2, are you willing to pay what it's going to cost from Hasbro Pulse? Well, now that we've seen this Spider-Man and his amazing friends package, which character from that show would we love to see next? Personally, I would love to see an action figure of Swarm from that show, guys. Swarm is one of those characters who really hasn't gotten many action figures, and we haven't really seen him as a Marvel legend, I don't think, and to see this unique version of him I think would be pretty cool. Well, Soulmates, what do you think about this Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends 3-pack? Is this one that you have to have for your collection? Are you on the fence because of the quality of these, or are you not that interested because of the quality and maybe you're just not into the show? I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and be sure you let me know what character you want to see from this show next. If you want to learn more about the Marvel Legends animated series Spider-Man action figure, you can check out that video here, Soulmates.